Hi, I'm Bruce Johnson, City Manager, and welcome to City Manager Spotlight. And I'm very fortunate today to have our Mayor with us, Steve Gentling. How you doing, Mayor?
Bruce, it's great to be here.
That's awesome. Hey, I know that something significant happened in the city of Guthrie here recently, last February 9th, and I wanted you to be here today to kind of fill the citizens in on kind of the discussions we had leading up to the event, once the event took place, and kind of what your goals and aspirations are after the event. But can you kind of tell me and give me a general idea of how you feel now that the 3/4 cent sales tax proposition is passed?
Well, do you see this smile? I think that smile probably says it all. For me and for the City Council, and for the citizens of Guthrie. We had a sales tax vote on our 3/4 cent sales tax in early February, and it was passed fairly significantly, passed a majority. And so that kind of culminated the first phase of our pattern, or our journey, our growth journey for Guthrie. It started about a year ago when a group of citizens were put together to form what was called a Guthrie Area Projects Task Force that looked at things that the community needed that were quality of life issues for the city, and things that will help the city move on to the future. And then you implemented a survey of all the households in Guthrie. And we had a phenomenal response to that, a really, really great response. And so these things all came together to say, okay, here's what the city would do if the citizens voted in a 3/4 cent sales tax for a 15-year sunset. So we have this wonderful inventory of things to do that were generated by the citizens and by the city. And now we have the resources to do it down the road. I must say that the sales tax is such a critical function for all the communities in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the only state in the union where none of the property taxes go to the community for the running of the municipalities. It's basically sales tax and charges that the individual communities generate. So we are highly dependent upon sales tax. And that's why this was such a crucial opportunity for us. And the citizens took that to heart, took what you and the City Council and other members said that we would do with the resources that you would approve, and they did it. So now we get to move from being reactionary, Bruce, to being planning, and to really put some things into motion for our future. The smile says it all. It's all about our future, and it was a great thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of transition a little bit from the future to what took place in the past. Oftentimes when people are looking from outside of our organization into our organization, they may only see the way that the City Council votes and see that it's a unanimous 7-0 vote. We are now taking the city in this direction because of the particular vote, and may not see any dissenting votes on a lot of the things that take place or comes before City Council. But before we took a vote on the resolution and the ordinance that actually placed the ballot issue before the citizens, there was a lot of discussion about what we wanted to see out of this sales tax, and a lot of those discussions revolved around what particular projects we wanted, but also the term or the non-term of the sales tax election. Can you kind of fill the people in on exactly what those discussions we had in our workshops and amongst each other on what we were thinking and what was the logic behind putting a 3/4 cent sales tax on for 15 years for capital improvements?
There's a lot of dialogue. There's difference of opinion. Difference of priorities, but all of that is good because that reflects different thought processes. So it's a very, very useful thing and a quality thing that ends up in a final product that I think is good for everybody. And that's clearly one of the things that happened in this journey that we took in phase one. There was a lot of discussion early on about whether we should be going for 1/4 cent or 3/4 cent, or I think there was general agreement that it needed to be sunsetted at some point in time, that it wouldn't be never ending, that we needed to produce what the citizens would vote on, and then we need to show them the trust that they entrusted in us, in giving us that authority for additional resources, and that we would show in return we would produce that. So a lot of discussion about, there probably were 20 or 30 different projects that were put on the list. Some came from the departments that knew what their needs were better than anybody else. Again, as I have identified, many came from the citizens themselves. And so we melded all of those things along with the survey instrument and came up with this listing of vital projects for not only quality of life, but for our economic development. All of it contributes to economic development, of course, as any company or business coming in here looks at all of these things. What are your parks like? What is your sports activities like for the youth? And what are you doing for seniors? And how are your infrastructure, your waste, in our case, the wastewater treatment plant was one of the things, as well as our fire department and police department. So all of businesses look at those things. And so those are all indicators of a community that wants them to come in and that wants to have them as a part of our growth and a part of our journey into the future. So yeah, there was a lot of discussion. I think the final product was wonderful for Guthrie, wonderful for Guthrie taxpayers, and I think they reflected that in their positive vote.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of going back to a vote. I think that's one of the beauties of local government, and that we have representatives that are directly from the constituents, and we all live together, we all work together, we all play together. And this process, as you stated, started a year prior to a vote ever being taken last February. And at that point in time, there was even a separate council that began these discussions and began that group of citizens that started taking a look at different projects. So at least 10 different council members who are citizens that all live, work, and play right around us, all had input on this, and then an entire committee, then a survey of hundreds of residents, nearly 25% of our total population that gave input on that. And as a mayor coming in, being elected, seeing so many people work together, and dual councils, hundreds of citizens, committees, staff, just how do you, as the person who pretty much represents us all, how does that make you feel?
Oh, I mean, again, the smile says it all, but when you get diverse ideas, diverse opinions coming together, all pulling now in the same direction for common goal, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And now with the resources available to start to do some things with it, as I said, we can move out of being a reactionary thing where, geez, we got to fix this pothole, to being planning things, be able to do our own streets, pave our own streets. We can really get into much better planning, which is more economic, better use of the economics, of the dollars and cents that the citizens are giving us. So it's truly a win-win all the way around, and I'm just pleased as punch to be a part of it.
That's good. You have a term called quality of life, and oftentimes when I was going around speaking about what the possible projects were and for the revenues from the capital improvement sales tax, I always kind of use the term return on investment, because we're competing against the Oklahoma Cities, the Edmonds, and the Stillwaters of the world for people actually to live here and to work here. And to be successful, we have to take that into consideration and make sure that we have all the proper infrastructure in place to allow people to want to live and work here. So oftentimes I heard you say we were looking at quality of life projects, quality of life issues, and wanting to make this the best place that people can come and live and work and play. Can you give me kind of your perspective of what you consider to be the quality of life for the citizens of Guthrie now, and what you hope it to be after the 15 years of the capital improvement sales tax?
Sure. Well, I think clearly the quality of life that I speak of is the environment of the community, kind of the culture that the community presents from somebody looking from the outside in. There's many things that you see visibly. You see what kind of fire department, what kind of police department that you have, what kind of equipment that they have. And those kinds of things also reflect on the attitudes of the employees, not only in those departments, but in other departments. You see what kind of take a simple thing like a sports complex. You see the pride that a community has reflected in a sports complex, in a swimming pool that is more than just a hole in the ground, but is something that is really focused on something for our youth. When you look at our senior centers, if the visible appearance and the infrastructure of it gives you one picture, if it's a negative picture, you kind of get that there's maybe not as much pride in our community as we think. But with some of the resources that are now available, some of the plans that you and your staff have for enhancing our senior centers, for creating a sports complex, all of those things, I think those create a buzz in our community. They create a culture of pride. And I think that when I say quality of life, I say it's a community where the citizens have pride in what they do. In our community, we have as much pride in Guthrie, America, as we do in our Blue Jay football team. I think that maybe says it all.
Yeah. That's very good. And I think there's going to be another word that I want to interject here too and ask you about, is that oftentimes there's a process in local government where someone has an idea or they see a need. We take that need, we take that idea, then we have discussions. Sometimes we have debate, and we kind of come up with what will be the solution in order to implement the idea or to cover up that need. And once we do that, then we all come together as a community, and in that time that the community, there's some people that are going to be in the debates, losing the debate, winning the debate, but oftentimes even through this entire process and the discussions that we had, the workshops, is that, like you said, we started off with 30 projects and it got scaled down to probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20, but there's projects that people were champions of that they necessarily lost out of, but they were able to take that loss of the battle and still keep their mind on the war, and all of us wanting to be successful together. And so when I think about all that, then coming back to the actual physical vote that took place on February 9th, and the citizens agreeing with us that this was the proper format and direction to take the city in. And as soon as the votes came in from each precinct, the word that came back to me after all of that was trust. Is that it looks like we are now, as a community, trusting in each other, even though some of us may lose the battles on what projects we'd like to see done or how we'd like to see it accomplished. We still trust in each other as a community to go forward to make ourselves better. And that's kind of a word that you and I have talked about. And how does, from your perspective as mayor of the city of Guthrie, the trust that now is being built between the citizens, its elected officials, and just the city as a whole, through the business and everybody else, all of us come together and trust in each other.
Yeah, I think that's, again, it kind of goes back to the culture of pride, culture of trust, gaining trust in the citizens, gaining trust in the council, in the leadership of our community, doing what they're asking us to do. They showed us in the survey responses as to what they felt were priorities. I don't think that anybody really loses. A good friend of ours, Eddie Coleman, says community wins.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
This was community wins. Yeah. This was community wins. And I think everybody recognized that. These were all steps in building our community, our future, and showing that we are Guthrie, we are on the move. And so I think it was a community win thing. There is trust. Obviously, now it's up to us to take those resources, implement the things that are in our plan, quality of life, structural things, the wastewater treatment, fleet replacements, all those things, sports complex, and to show them that here is the return on your investment. Sure. And it's up to us to continue on with that trust. But that vote, that was a vote of trust.
Yeah, and I just want to take this time now and let everybody know exactly what took place on February 9th. There was an election for a 3/4 cent capital improvement sales tax for 15 years. That runs from July 1st, 2016 until about July 1st, 3031. At that point in time, we have a list of different activities and projects that we're going to be doing, from street improvements to a pool and a splash pad to a ladder truck to helping us replace our fleet. And we're also looking at youth activities, improving both things at our library, YMCA, then also our sports complex for our youth that are primarily the ages of 5 to 13. So those are all projects that we're looking at for the capital improvement sales tax. The total amount of funding, we're looking anywhere between $17 and $20 million for the entire life term of the project. Our collections begin July 1st, but we will not see our first sales tax remittance from the Oklahoma Tax Commission until September. That falls in line with the city's fiscal year, so we'll be looking at those planning in this upcoming summer, and you'll see us talking about that during our budget cycle. If anybody has any ideas, thoughts about what other types of projects that they'd like to see over the next 15 years, please bring them to us. We have left a little bit of money off to the side for contingency on the projects, but also if there's other opportunities that come available for the city for us to take advantage of. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank the mayor for being here today and all the leadership that he has shown throughout this entire process. I'd like to thank every other council member that has taken a vote and come and has served as essentially a volunteer leader of our community, both the previous council and this council, and all their planning efforts for the capital improvement sales tax. I'd even like to thank our previous city manager, Serena Breland, and what she was able to bring to the table to help us get this sales tax passed. It really has shown that we're coming together as a community and going out there and wanting to make Guthrie reach its full potential. I'd like to thank you for watching today, and I hope you enjoy everything that you're seeing on GTV 20. And right now I'd like to throw it over to Choctaw with Dr. Mike Simpson.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you having us on here today. I'm Mike Simpson, Superintendent of Guthrie Public Schools, and with us today is Pat Hughes. Pat is our Director of Alternative Education for Guthrie Public Schools. And Pat, you've been with the district for a while now. Tell us how'd you get here, and tell us what you do for us.
My first year of teaching was out in the Panhandle and out in Goodwill, and I referred to it as Badwell. I just did not like it there at all.
Spent one night there for a week, I think, or at least it seemed like a week.
And the job came open at Guthrie Junior High. This was 1989, and I applied and got hired and worked there for several years. Been at the alternative school as a teacher, at the high school as an assistant principal, and then director of alt ed.
Okay, so you've been with the district quite a while, and you've seen some changes.
Yes, sir.
Some good, some bad. And you've been in education for quite a while, and that's one of the things I really appreciate, the fact that you're a veteran educator and you've seen it come and go. What's changed in education since you got into it?
We talk about student attitudes and behaviors and parental support, things like that, but when we were younger, when we got in trouble at school, we got in trouble at home, and I see a shift back to that trend. I see a lot more parental support and discipline issues, and for quite a while it didn't seem like that was occurring. It seemed like we were the bad guys, but now it seems like, especially at the alternative school, that I get a lot of parental support, and they're really helpful with discipline and with their kids.
The thing I figured out in education a long time ago is if you can get the parents and the student to buy in to life after school, as in once you graduate, once you move on, and see the light at the end of the tunnel, see the eye on the prize, so to speak, then it makes a huge difference on keeping them focused going forward. And so, how long have you been at Favor Alternative School?
Since 2008.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of students come through, and you've worked with a lot of challenges, but you know, for the community, the perception may be with some people that the alternative school is for the kids that are in trouble. So,
Right.
so tell us what your student looks like.
My student is just someone who can't make it work at the traditional high school setting, whatever that reason is, whether it's a discipline issue, attendance issue, teen pregnancy, social anxiety issues. I get a lot of students there just because they don't fit the mold of a high school student, and it's not the bad kid. It's not the discipline problem most times. It's just someone that needs a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance in a small group. And one thing you touched on, you know, looking forward, I like to say what we give students at Favor Alternative School is hope. That's the one thing we really try to give them is hope.
Well, I think, and you know, without naming names, talk about a success story that you've had.
Had a girl just the other day, it was my birthday at the 1st of February, and she brought some cupcakes for me. She's been out of school 5 years probably, 14, teen pregnancy, had a baby at 14, came to the high school, came to the alternative school. She started VOTEC, went to dental assistant school in VOTEC, and she's doing very well. She comes back to see me once a year, and like I said, for my birthday, she remembered my birthday, and bought me a dozen donuts, or a dozen cupcakes. It was.
Did you share
really
those with students?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right, good. I wanted to make sure. Well, you know, that's the thing that when people ask me about alternative education, and the perception that it's the kids that are in trouble, that's the troubled kid. That's so far from the truth.
Correct.
And that's why I wanted to have you on today to talk about that, because it, you know, when we talk about success stories with Guthrie High School and Guthrie Public Schools in general, a lot of times people gloss over Favor Alternative School, and that's a shame, because a lot of the success stories that we have in Guthrie Public Schools come from your building, and I'm very very knowledgeable about that. But I wanted to make sure that you could tell your story, because what you do is so much more important than just turning on the lights and opening the doors and telling the kids to come to school. And so, you know, I really appreciate what you do. You know, the thing that I know about Pat is he has a heart for kids, and he takes some of the kids that have some things going on in their lives for whatever reason, and finds a way to help them find their success. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, and I really appreciate what you do for Guthrie Public Schools. And Pat, thanks also for your service to our country. And we really appreciate your efforts with our students.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on with us today.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Simpson from Guthrie Public Schools. Thanks for watching.